All right, welcome to another image critiquing. I'm Toby,
And I'm Christina.
and we are going to run through the Digital Photo Rec Flickr group, and we have randomly selected again, same thing as last week, a handful of images that we are going to be judging. Real three main criteria: the technical qualities, is the exposure correct, all of the settings, composition, where does your eye fall? Did they use the rule of thirds? Leading lines, are there distracting elements that take away from the image? And we're going to be looking at the content. What is the visual impact of this image? What kind of emotional reaction does it invoke? And that's basically what we're going to be using to judge these. And I said this in the last two episodes in a row, but we really are going to work at keeping this tighter. So with that said, let's dive right into our first image. And I'll go first. This is from Nathan Fry, Two Worlds, Pohnpei, Micronesia. So this was shot with a 70D and at 10 millimeters, so the Canon 10 to 22 millimeter lens. First off, I love shots like this that show you below and above. I think that's very cool. I've tried to replicate that, but never shot with a wide enough lens. I think I started to say this must have been shot with some kind of underwater housing, because clearly the camera is at least partially submerged. So I love these kind of shots, and I also love that this is basically broken into thirds. We've got the underwater as the bottom third, maybe a little bit more. We have the flat water showing some really nice reflection is the middle third, and then the sky, which has some nice texture, and sun up there is the top third. Exposure looks very good. Below and above is all very nice. I like that. But there's just not as much excitement underneath as I would like. It almost looks like there's just kind of this jetty or this pile of rocks, and we got one blue starfish under there. So I'm going to be a little bit picky about the content, but the exposure is nice. I love the reflections, and I think it's a nice image.
I agree. I don't think I have anything else to add. I don't think the content's super boring. I think that the image was hard, or to me it seems like a difficult image to create because it probably takes a number of times until you get it right, but I like it overall. It's great, and for the same reasons that you just stated. So
yeah, I would say that you could maybe drop your shutter speed just a little bit so that you could also drop your ISO, but this underwater does look a little bit noisy, and it may have been in the shadows, and you may have brought that up in post, which brought out some of the noise there. But nice. Thank you, Nathan. All right, moving along. Baojun is what I'm going to say your name is. And I think, commented on this image as I was going through the other day. Sometimes I go through and comment on images as well as then they randomly get picked for this. First thing I think of when I look at this image, I'm going to go first again, Christina, is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. Is House of Cards, because there is that shot at the end of the show House of Cards where the title sequence appears right here in front of the Capitol. This is a great shot. I really like it. I noticed that you said you didn't use a tripod. You just laid your camera on the stone wall. Big bonus points there for using your environment to steady your camera. A really long exposure. I think if we scroll down here, we had a full 30 seconds. This was with a Pentax K5, really nice camera. And I like it. The only thing that I think I'm bugged about a little bit is that the Capitol Dome itself is a little bit blown out and a little maybe too much teal. We have all of these kind of fluorescent or LED lights or tungsten. I just threw out all different kinds of lights. I'm not sure which ones these actually are. But we're getting a really blue teal color from them and up here on the Capitol. And I'm not crazy about that mixed lighting. But I'm also not quite sure how you would deal with that other than some selective painting in the Lightroom to change the color temperature. But otherwise, I love these trees. They're captured so sharply. The water has been smoothed out because any of those ripples over 30 seconds got smoothed, and so the reflections are really nice, and just the wide aspect of this is composed very nicely.
I agree. I love the composition, and I am trying to figure out what the deal is with the color of these lights, because at first you can just sort of see that they were using some kind of different color lighting on the top of the building, but then the lights down at the bottom are also that same color. So I guess there must have been some color balance change that affected the color that way. But I like it. I mean, I think it works well, and really loving the composition and the long exposure, and yeah, and I think it captures beautifully the just like the busyness of the town, the lights, and there's people, and it looks like it was at Christmas time. So yeah, great shot.
Yep. Those people that you don't quite see right at first, right here below that center statue, they add some nice scale, and there's some people up there closer to the Capitol as well. Nicely done. Just the lights are a little distracting to me. All right, park hit by snow. Christina, you can go first.
So technical qualities or abilities. I think that the shot is very well exposed. I think you exposed well for the highlights, which is, obviously the sun and then the shadows. You can still retain a lot of the shadows, except for in the trees, which are just really dark to begin with. So, composition, I'm not really loving the composition. I think it does seem a little bit, it seems fairly balanced, but the horizon line is a little tilted to the left, down to the left. And I think that the composition could be a little bit stronger here. Also, I don't love the softening effect that that seems to have been applied to this image. Yeah, I don't know what exactly it is. It looks a little bit hazy, but I think it was done in post-processing. And then I don't really know what's going on here. I mean, I know it looks like a wintry scene, but what is that building supposed to be? Is it supposed to be, a sort of left behind? Is it unoccupied? What's the story? I wish I knew more about the story. So, yeah, that's my opinion about it.
Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. I agree that the composition, I think, could be shifted a little bit to the left. We don't need quite as much snow in the foreground, but I think you did expose this really nicely because we have nice detail in the snow if you look closely. It is not blown out. But we could shift just a little bit to the left that we capture just some of those trees on the right and just a little bit more perspective of what we're looking at out here. Maybe give a little bit more sense of place of where that building is and not cut off that smaller tree on the very left-hand side of the frame. I'm not sure if it was post-processing or if there's just a little bit of snow coming down that has made the background hazy, but I like it. I think it adds to the mood of the image, and so overall, I think this is quite nice if we just shifted a little bit over to the side. Thank you, Mohammed. Moving on, Turkey Trot. Christina, you can start with this one.
I'd like to know where this is. That's my first reaction, because it kind of looks like it was in a New England town, maybe. I don't know. But okay, so technical qualities. I think you could take this into some editing app and correct the horizon line. I think that's the first thing that stands out to me. It's kind of leaning to the left again. Otherwise, I like the exposure. I like the choice and depth of field. I think it captures all of the scene, but still, focuses on the one subject, which is the man in the foreground. In terms of the composition, again, the horizon line is a little tilted to the left, but also there's a lot of really distracting elements that could have been cropped out in camera. You could have taken maybe a couple more and just waited for that red car to pass by so that it's not in the shot, or maybe waited until the guy in the blue shirt was a little bit further behind the police car and they weren't intersecting with each other. And so, yeah, I think those, a little tweak here and there to correct the horizon, and then maybe crop a little bit the top right corner. There's a strange sort of rectangle here that's a little bit distracting, so that needs to be removed somehow. Yeah, and then I would like to know what's going on here too. Are they running a marathon? Are they just running for fun?
Turkey trot.
Oh, a turkey trot, of course.
Usually 5K, maybe 10K.
That's right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You done?
I'm finished.
Okay, great. Let's see. I think Sean, we've looked at two of your images before, and so my first comment is you got a really high shutter speed, and your ISO is higher than it needs to be for this image. Now, last time we pointed that out, you blamed it on your girlfriend. I don't know if you're going to use her as a scapegoat again. I'm just giving you a hard time. But you could certainly be at a much lower ISO here and a much lower shutter speed with no negative impact. The first thing that grabbed me about this image is one, it seems kind of like a snapshot, but I love this juxtaposition of we run this city and then a police officer in the background. So, following on Christina's comments of if we would weighted to the sky in the blue with the we run the city was just a little bit past, and I know that has to do with the turkey trot, but it kind of gives you the idea of there's a police officer checking out the sky with we run the city shirt. I like that. It has a little bit of story. It looks like there's somebody right on the other side of we run the city. I see just a tiny bit of a head, and that keeps distracting me because then there's somebody else over there, but we're just getting a bit, and it looks kind of weird from that respect. But otherwise, I think this could tell a really good story if we got rid of some of the distracting elements, and we want to work on our technical watching those settings as well. Thank you, Sean. All right. I think I get to start off again with this one. I commented on another of Ed's photos. This is one downside of picking randomly, because then sometimes we pick randomly ones that I've commented on. But this is really cool. This was the launch of a new GPS satellite down in Cape Canaveral. So this is down on some beach near there. Oh, well, look. Cocoa Beach. I can read over here. Why do you say
Because it's Cocoa Beach. I love cocoa.
I thought you were going to be excited because it's winter here in New England and there's a place where people aren't all bundled up.
I just love cocoa.
Okay. Well, this is cool. This is a really neat image capturing this launch of a rocket ship up into outer space. T4I, your settings, nice 19 seconds. 190 seconds. 190 seconds.
Wow.
So you were using bulb mode. And I'd love to know how you triggered that and kept that open. Did you have a little remote, or were you using the Trigger Trap app? So I'd love for you to use leave a comment on there. A nice aperture and ISO. And I also wonder how you decided on those settings, if you've had some experience with rocket launches in the past, or if you did a little research. And I'd be happy to hear that. But I like that this also captures some of the crowd down below to let you know that there are people there enjoying this experience. I think this is composed nicely. You didn't put the rocket launch straight in the middle, but you gave it room so that it would curve. Again, I wonder how did you know that that's where it was going to go from prior experience. The only thing distracting about this one, and I think your other image didn't have that, is some of these little blue streaks where these people throwing their little glow-in-the-dark necklaces
Are
up
those
in the air.
stars? I think those are stars.
Well, these are stars, but not, look at this loop up here that comes back down right here and right over here. I think things were being tossed into the air. And they must be pretty close to the camera to appear to be so high. But all in all, very, very nice. I am going to take this moment and use you as an example of picking. I think this watermark could be a little bit more subtle and down and to the right a little more. There was an image last week that I realized afterwards we didn't comment on that was a really good learning experience. That was, and I'll throw that image up, that had it was that very dark and stormy sunset on the beach, had a very bright yellow watermark across the bottom.
Oh, okay.
I thought, and as we were, critiquing that image, we didn't really mention that, but I thought it detracted some from the image as well, and so watermarks are certainly appropriate and acceptable, but you want to keep them pretty subtle most of the time. But all in all, Ed, I think this is a great image, and I'd love to hear some comments from you a little bit more on how you captured this. So thank you. Did you want to say anything?
No, I don't think I have anything to add. You covered it pretty nicely.
Okay. You're up on this one. They're coming for me.
All right. Trying to make sense of the caption. So first thing again, I'm gonna...
You're getting all the crooked ones.
Yeah. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine. So I think that's the first thing you should do.
Straighten your horizon.
Yeah, straighten your horizon. I photograph crooked images sometimes, and quick crop adjustment in Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever editing software you use will fix it. It's no big deal. But yeah, if this is your best photo, it should be pretty polished. I like the exposure. The exposure is it's well exposed. There's no metadata on it, no EXIF data, so I can't tell if it was taken in manual or aperture priority or anything else. So the exposure is nice. There's a good balance between darks and lights. In terms of the content, it looks like a touristy spot, so I think that you could have showcased the monument in a better way. I think you could have gotten down a little bit lower and then maybe gotten both of the, what would you call the top? Is it the steeples or the towers?
The top of the towers.
Okay. You could have captured both tops of the towers and kind of focus on that. I know that the tourism aspect with all the people in the foreground might have been an important element for you, but I think I would have liked to see more of the subject, which is clearly supposed to be this wall, this building itself. So yeah, so reframe it from a different perspective, get down low, zoom out a little bit, and then focus on that and frame it really nicely and straighten your horizon line.
Yep. I think I'll just add basically what Christina said, but I think you tried to capture two different things here: the people at the spot and the spot. And you need to split that into two pictures. One that really shows this location, captures the top of the building completely, and another one where you really zoom in, maybe just get that arch in the background and all the people in front of it. I'm also a little distracted. Your aperture was low enough, and this is a pretty deep scene, but your aperture was low enough that we really have this blurry guy is the first person that we see.
Yeah.
And that's a little distracting there as well. So. But Ben, thank you so much for submitting, and moving on. Oh, this is another by Nathan. Did we already do one by Nathan?
Did we?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but I got picked, so let's do it. Who's going first?
I'll go first. So no slanted horizon line. Great.
Sorry, this is in Ponapai, Micronesia too. The very first one we did was this one.
Okay.
We'll give it a quick.
Yeah. So I like the composition a lot. I like the rocks are sort of framing the water, and I'd say your highlights are a little bit blown out, but that's not a huge deal. So in terms of technical ability, maybe underexpose a little bit more to kind of protect your highlights so that you can later bring them back. Or overexpose them if you like, or maybe you did that and you just wanted to overexpose them. But leave enough dynamic range so that the highlights and the shadows retain detail. It looks like a really beautiful place, so it was showcased beautifully. So, oh yeah, he did the underwater.
Yes, the very first one.
I just remembered.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. I like it a lot. I echo what Christina said. We have loss of highlight up here in this area. 60-second exposure, so that smoothed this water out, and the kind of gray of the rocks and the water works very nicely, especially with you get the splashes of orange and color. It'd just be nice to see a little bit more of that echoed in the sky as well, which is a challenging exposure to be able to capture the sky. A gradient neutral density filter could help here, or if shot in RAW and then post-processing using a gradient in Lightroom to bring that area down, or just painting it and with a lower exposure. Thank you, Nathan. You got lucky. All right, Greg submitted this image. And it makes me smile right away. It's a cute image. I'm just going to go first, okay, Christina?
That's fine.
This little girl here,
she's so excited.
She is so excited for this little boy, and I think he's so excited too. But he's one of those little people that
just shy.
Yeah,
bashful.
Maybe, yep, just at the moment, and maybe a little overwhelmed. Turning 5.
Aww.
So this is great. And let's look over at our metadata real quick. Down to the 55 to 300. Shooting at 55. And f5.6. Now, at 55, you could have gone down to f4.5. That would have given you a little bit more light, which would allow you to drop your ISO and would have softened the background a little bit. Not a big difference, maybe not even worth mentioning, but it would have a little. And you know, even at ISO 4000, D5200, nice. You know, this image really isn't too noisy because it is well exposed here on the face of the two kids, and that's the important part. You can see it gets noisy back there, but we don't really care. That's not where we're looking. I may also suggest to get down a little bit lower so you're straight on just a little bit, but that's really just kind of being picky and trying to come up with other things to say. I think in general is very nice. Well, I guess, you know, we could get a lot tighter here and crop in so it's just the little boy and the little girl. We don't need the pair of shorts and the fairly well-toned legs back there. But yeah, Christina?
Yeah, so actually my suggestion is a little bit different. So I kind of would have liked to have seen you not use flash and just let them be lit by the ambience of the candle.
I didn't even think about that.
Because then that way the legs wouldn't be an issue because it would be pretty dark back there. So all the background elements would have been dark. And it would just have been, you know, a really nice feeling of they are about to sing happy birthday or they just sang happy birthday. And I think the little girl's face would also have been lit by the candlelight just a little bit. And even if there was a little bit of noise, I think that because of the mood that you're trying to create, that is okay. So yeah, so next time try not using flash. I think it would create a moodier, just a moodier photograph.
I would just say I think you are being optimistic about how well lit it would be without a flash at all.
No, I don't. I think I'm being realistic. I think that it would not be as bright as this image for sure.
For sure.
But I think you could brighten it up in post a little bit, and I think that even if it's just a little bit dark, you know, you could even turn or dial your aperture or your shutter speed a little bit slower to like maybe 100 or even 60 if you can handhold it. Maybe, you know, just 100.
The lens does have IS.
To be safe. But yeah, I mean, I personally think that ambience of the candle light would have been nice in this image.
Yep. Good. And that looks like a fun cake there on the left.
Yeah.
I want to eat it.
Wish they could share their cakes with us, too.
All right. Two cute kids. Thank you, Greg. All right. Classic Train from Stan. I think we've maybe done Stan image before. You can go first.
Okay. Let's see. How do we want to approach this? So, in terms of technical qualities, it's hard to say how the photo was taken, or, you know, we have the EXIF data, but it's hard to say what was, I guess this must have been an HDR image, so there were 3 different exposures. Okay, so in terms of technical quality or technical ability, you definitely know your HDR stuff. I am not particularly in love with the really strong HDR effects. I think they can just look a little bit unnatural, and that's just my personal opinion. I mean, I go for the more natural sort of look. But I think that even in this case, the highlights are a little bit blown out, and it might be just a little too punchy. There's like ghosting around the edges, so that could have been a little more subtle. And I mean, I think the whole point of HDR is to kind of retain all detail in a photograph that has, or in a setting that has very, very high contrast. So for example, when you're shooting something that's very strongly backlit, you want to create 3 different exposures that will allow you to retain detail in the highlights and the shadows and the midtones equally, so that you can pull them back up and then have an evenly exposed image.
Or Nathan's second water picture would be a good example of,
correct,
to be able to capture that sky without blowing it out and the foreground.
Correct, exactly, yes. So, and I think this, you know, this was lit, this in the bright sun, it looks like noon sun, so I don't really see why you would do HDR in this particular setting, because you don't have a lot of contrasty shadows, and you just don't have a lot of contrast. So that's just my 2 cents. In terms of composition, I think the composition is really great. I think that this is a really cool subject to photograph, and yeah, I like the angle and the perspective, and I think it's really well done. The leading lines, all the way up to the front, and yep.
Nice. I'll just add that I am not bothered by the HDR-ness of it until I look at the sky. I think the train, it looked very vibrant, a little ultra-realistic, which is fine. Good detail in the shadows of the mechanical bits underneath the train and alongside. And that all, the HDR works well there. It's up in the sky, and it is this halo bit we're looking at right in this area that distracts me some.
And I would agree with that. I do think that the train looks good.
Yeah. And so there's, there are ways to, I'm not sure if, I don't think you did this solely in camera, but I don't know for sure. I'd love to hear from you. There are ways to, dial it back up here. And we have to say that there are people that love the full-on HDR, painterly look.
Exactly.
We don't. So you're getting our opinion about that.
Yeah.
But I think the composition is nice, as Christina said. I wish this power line wasn't sticking up right there, but there's not much you can do about that.
Right.
You could try backing up, shooting at a longer focal length and a wider aperture to soften the background a little bit and bring more focus, so to speak, to the train.
But then you lose the distortion that wide aperture creates. So
the wide angle.
The wide angle, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep, that's true. Yep. But composition, great. Train's great. Just not crazy about that sky up there. Thank you, Stan. It's a cool train. I like trains too. Marcelo says they like trains too. All right. And now here from Stephen, we've got Panda at the Toronto Zoo. Well, pandas are pretty sweet. They're pretty amazing.
Pandas are awesome.
Pandas are awesome. So this photo is straight out of the camera. Stephen tells us this is his first DSLR with the T4i, and when this photo taken, he'd owned it for 3 months. I appreciate that background. This is a cool shot. I wish that the panda wasn't intersecting directly with the snow here, though, because it's a little distracting to the eye, and I keep going back there to that.
I see what you're saying.
And I think, Stephen, you had another shot up here of the panda. Can we switch over to this other shot?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There. I like this shot more. We still have the intersection, but we got the full face of the panda looking straight at us, and the action here of it chowing down on some bamboo. I got a joke for you.
I'm really bad at jokes.
So this panda goes into a restaurant, orders a bowl of soup. Waiter brings it to him. He eats it. Waiter comes back to check on him. Panda whips out a gun, shoots the waiter, and leaves. And, cops are called, chase him down. He's pretty easy to find. He's a panda. He's just walking down the street. And they're like, "Whoa, what did you do that for?" The panda says, "I'm a panda. Eats, shoots, and leaves."
Ha, 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 ha. Okay.
All right, sorry.
Pandas are incapable of hurting anything.
Except bamboo. Look at those chompers. Okay, so.
Terrible joke.
Terrible joke, but a good picture. I think it captures a fun moment.
I like his ears.
It's a little bit snapshotty, but it's good. And I don't know what you could have done about the composure here. You're probably a limited angle to shoot from, being it's the zoo and you're on one side of the wall and the animals on the other. But overall, I like it. Metadata looks good. You could have gone maybe a little bit slower. Nah, really. That's fine. That's all fine. Yeah. What would you like to say, Christina?
I think my only suggestion would be to maybe crop a little bit at the top, just to center in and bring the focus more on the panda himself or herself. Just a little bit of cropping, and that's it for me. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a pretty great portrait of a panda.
Yep, check out this paw down here wrapped around the bamboo.
So cute.
It's very cute. All right, great. Thank you, Stephen. And we're looking forward to more pictures from all of you. We kept this to about 30 minutes. As I said, I'll be in here. There are some other cool shots. I want to know what kind of animal this is. This is a cool car shot, lit really well. I love, this is our super quick review that I didn't tell you we were doing. I love the bokeh in this shot as it just fades away, and the focus on this is very nice. This is cool, really busy background, but this vase is really well lit. I like
and
that.
The one on the left is a really cool picture too.
That's a nice picture too.
Yeah.
The colors here are crazy. And then P&I, did we do another one by P&I? Maybe not, but this seems like a long exposure, and that's neat as well. I wish that wasn't so cut off there, but still quite cool. And I think we are going to wrap it up.
Oh, that one's really cool, the one on the train with the motion.
I commented on
love that one.
I do like that a lot too. I had suggested they recompose just a little bit because we don't need this handle here,
no,
and
a
little bit more of the door or the window to see that motion. I think it's
perfect.
Okay, Christina thinks it's perfect. Check out the squirrel checking us out. This ferocious lights, busy street. I love this. I want to make an image like this. I've made some small versions, but nothing as serious as that. That's a cool image. We got some more Car by Vinman. And we commented on his last time. I like this blue one here.
I remember, I think.
Getting better. We still got these buildings coming right intersecting, but we are getting good. Nice leading line right up to the sun. That's fun. Cute little snowman. Little triptych. Out with the old, in with the new. Is one of these a new one? Doesn't look like it. All right, and we are going to wrap. Oh, that's cool too, with the bokeh coming right out of the coffee. I want you all to do tutorials to share with us on how you've done some of these images, because there are a lot of great ones in here. Just because we didn't comment on it doesn't mean we don't love it. I will be back in here soon. Thank you so much for submitting. Keep on submitting your work, and we'll keep on talking about it. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if we made mention and you'd like to clarify anything or let us know anything, just leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.
Goodbye.